In the wake of the devastation left by Hurricane Katrina, my commitment to New Orleans actually deepened. Matt had moved Confederate Motorcycles to Birmingham, but I just had to stay. There was some unfinished business that I had in this town. I was waiting tables, tending bar, cleaning bathrooms for a living, just struggling from day to day to be able to pay rent, but doing art projects in my own time. In this period, I drew a lot of four-cylinder motorcycles. Then in 2009, I got lucky. See, I'm from North Louisiana, and they actually discovered natural gas on my family's land. I started getting some little checks coming in the mail. Now, not a ton of money, but enough for me to quit my service industry job and start a new project. Natural gas is a really interesting fuel, and I sort of took it as a sign that it was time for me to do something radically different. Natural gas is not a good source of fuel for a motorcycle because of the storage requirements, but it works really well in cars if you build the car around the fuel. In 2009, I started the Magnolia Special project, and in 2011, finished that car and set a coast-to-coast record from New York to Los Angeles. And as far as I'm aware, the Magnolia Special still holds the coast-to-coast record for CNG, compressed natural gas. In 2012, after the Magnolia Special was complete, I figured that my phone would be ringing and people would be interested in commissioning another car. It never happened. So I was, again, pretty lost when a man by the name of Jim Jacoby wandered into my shop. He was curious as to what I'd been up to motorcycle design-wise, and I had been working on this series of sketches with a motorcycle suspension system that used a single composite leaf. When I showed him the sketches, he was blown away and decided to fund a build. I was so happy because I was back in the motorcycle business where I really belonged all along. The Bienville Legacy project was a tremendous amount of work. I built 3 prototypes in 3 years, pretty much solo, with an all-new, untested, and untried suspension system. In 2015, one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me happened when Lord March invited me to participate in the 2015 Goodwood Festival of Speed. It's one of the great pleasures and privileges of my life to see my motorcycle go up the hill twice a day for 3 days in front of 80,000 screaming gearheads. It was amazing. But back in the real world, Jim had decided not to continue with the project and he pulled the plug. The Bienville project pretty much died then. So I was back lost again. But it did give me the time to build this space. So for the next 2 years, I worked on building a studio space to set me up for the next big design contract. And that came when, in 2019, when Matt Chambers re-engaged with me to do an all-new project, an EV, an electric motorcycle. The Curtis One was an all-new challenge because I had to relearn everything I thought I knew about what made a motorcycle go down the road. Building an EV is a whole different learning experience, but I relished the challenge. Although while I was working on it, it was a pretty steep learning curve and pretty frustrating. But I'm so proud of the results because the Curtis One is one of the greatest riding motorcycles I've ever been on. A Curtis One rides so smooth and so controlled. Everything on it was exactly the way I wanted it to be. But with that contract wrapped up and 7 prototypes built right here in the studio that I built, it was time for me to move on and do the thing that I had always been thinking of, the Magnolia 4. I've designed some pretty interesting motorcycles, but this time it was different. This time the bike had to sing. It had to be immediately recognizable by anyone familiar with American motorcycle history. The goal for the Magnolia 4 from day one has been to be able to take one look at it and instantly understand what this bike is all about. An American four-cylinder. I'm still an outsider. I'm still standing outside and looking in. But this time I'm doing it with a lot more experience.